Welcome everyone to the WSL NASCAR Series, the U.S. edition, round number 3 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm your host, Kenny Kibbe, alongside a co-host and director tonight, David Christie. David, we're at Charlotte, kind of the center for the NASCAR hub, if you will, of all the popular NASCAR teams. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about what guys will be able to, or our guys and girls tonight will be dealing with at a night race here at Charlotte?
Well, thankfully I was already treated to some incredible stuff with the EU group earlier on, a wonderful, wonderful event there. But yeah, Charlotte Motor Speedway, steeped in tradition. Of course, it's the 1.5 mile oval super speedway that we're going to be taking part in tonight. And you know, Kenny, these new Gen 7 next gen cars are just such a different beast altogether here at Charlotte. Cooler conditions mean that the cars are very twitchy, very unstable and very unpredictable, and that's exactly what we saw earlier on with the EU lot as well. So 10 cautions we had earlier on tonight. I'm thinking we might be getting that again in the US lot.
Definitely could. If we don't, we'll have to talk about pit strategy later on. But as these drivers are commencing their or working on their qualifying laps, real quick, want to thank our sponsors, supported by our close friends at SIM3D, and this is broadcast obviously on the Absolute Sim Racing Network. I appreciate them for letting me come on board for these races. But yeah, David, cars are on track for qualifying. This is a 2-lap session. The drivers do have 10 minutes to complete their 2 laps. But Charlotte is such an interesting track when it comes to qualifying, because you really get a sense of speed here, and these drivers are, you know, completely all out when it comes to putting down a fast time here.
Aren't they just? And that's the wonderful, wonderful thing about it. We've got lone qualifying going on as we speak just now, so I think let's bring up some of the details on that. But Mark Redford currently out on track as well. Just looking at this is something that we spoke about off air as well, Kenny, and obviously you're much better versed in terms of how these new next gen NASCARs run. But what surprised me is just how unpredictable they were, and you know, watching them go round. When you've seen the previous gen ones, they look fairly predictable to drive, but these ones seem to, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but they seem to just, with no warning whatsoever, put you straight into the wall.
Yeah, the old Gen 6 cars, they really have you know, they are difficult to drive, but they became a little easier to drive once they brought in the lower horsepower, higher downforce rules package to them. But if you got into a slide, it was a pretty predictable slide and a slow and lazy spin, whereas these next-gen cars, you have a ton of grip until you don't, and you lose it all kind of right at once. And we've seen it time and time again where drivers would get into a slide, correct to the right, and it can just send them straight into the outside fence. We've even seen that in real life as well. Ross Chastain, the Cup driver at California, I believe it was, did the exact same thing in practice. So these are very difficult cars to drive, very different beasts. 5-speed sequential gearboxes in these cars, but I don't think we'll see any shifting in these cars. You're on the throttle quite often. And may not even need to use brakes. I ran a few practice laps a little bit before we went on air, and you do let off the gas quite a bit. You might use some brake to kind of yaw the car out and get the right steering or the right angle of the car through the corner. But I mean, these cars are absolutely ripping around this place at, you know, about 30-second lap times.
They absolutely are, and it just makes it absolutely fascinating to watch, as we're currently watching here with Harry Wills, who took the win in the EU race earlier on tonight. He'll be hoping to replicate that if he possibly can. Seeing a lot of the names here as well, Kenny, that were taking part in that EU Championship back out yet again for a second bite of the cherry here in the US lot. as well. But the great thing about this lone qualifying as well is that they don't have to worry about any of the other cars out on track. They don't need to worry about getting into any bumps or anybody else, bothering their run. But as we're coming through to the end of qualifying here, I also just wanted to give you a chance, actually, Kenny, to have a look at the championship standings as they are just now.
Yeah, for sure. So the current championship standings, this is after 2 rounds. Lilac Zier is top of the board. Eric Kulaga and Justin Delano tied second place with 97 points. Casey Metzger, who's second right now in qualifying, in fourth. James Harwood in 15. Timms sixth. Henry Windham in seventh. Harry Wills in eighth, who again won the EU race. So maybe we'll expect a gain in points for Harry here in the US race. Cass Silliman in ninth and Sean Campbell in 10th. It's a very tight championship at the moment, but it's still pretty early on. Anything can happen. And, we started out the season at Daytona, which is obviously completely unpredictable. And then now we've kind of hit some mile and a halves, but we're still seeing some drivers like Sean Campbell, who was so good at the super speedway races, still fast in at least in qualifying here for this race at Charlotte. So a lot of the similar names are still running up in the front. But again, championship's so tight. One bad race can drop you down the order pretty quickly.
It really can, and you're in for a treat tonight. If Sean Campbell hasn't got his setup sorted by the second group of races, he was in real strife. We had a good giggle actually watching on board with Sean Campbell earlier on tonight here, Kenny. He was literally having to saw away at the wheel just to hold on to that car and just to keep it going in a straight line. Incredible car control on display there from Sean. And again, I mean, to see him up there in third position in that Ford, that is a fast time, 30.14. So the time's not quite as fast as what we saw in the free practice, but still that is not to be scoffed at, and we're about 10 seconds away from heading to the grid here.
Yeah, it looks like a few drivers have not taken a qualifying time, and it's a 24 car grid tonight. So chance that this race could get a little bit more spread out. We don't have like a full 30 40 car field, but nonetheless, we'll bring up the starting grid for tonight's 100 lapper. And starting on pole, it's actually going to be James Howard, who grabbed the pole at 30.015. And second place will be Casey Metzger. Sean Campbell, who we just got done talking about, will be in third place. And next to him will be Mark Redford. Harry Wills will be watching out for him. He was the EU winner. Will start fifth next to Eero Ureksoi. Cass Silliman will be in seventh place and next to John D. Cooper. Steven Martinez will be in ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Travis Kepler. And Dean Timms will be in 11th, and Lilac Zier will be in 12th. You want to take the second half there, David?
Certainly will. TJ Handley starting on row 7, then in 13th position. Eric Kulaga in 14th. Jeff Carollo in 15th, with Thomas Fisher in 16th. It's Judith Cooper starting for Prismatic Motorsports in 17th position. She's going to be alongside Braden Mailing for Eclipse Racing Esports on P18. Row 10 is going to be Drew Neubauer beside Justin Delano. Caitlin Height will start alongside Rich Matthews in 21st and 22nd. Morgan Costello starts in 23rd and 24th for Matthew Plaisance for Eclipse Racing Esports as well. And that is our 24 car grid ready for a race. So the cars already onto the starting line, and of course one of the wonderful things about Charlotte as well, they start in that staggered formation actually on the track here.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice touch. It's something that the NASCAR guys do in real life. So you get to have a nice look at each car. I really like the 82 of Casey Metzger. That's a really sweet looking paint scheme specifically there. But yeah, this will be interesting. Green, as far as fuel runs, if we do get a long enough green flag run, I expect these cars to go 40 to 50 laps. I don't think, though, it'd be quite a stretch to actually make it to halfway on a full tank of gas. Now, granted, we start with a 65% fuel amount in the tank, and that's the whole point of taking some fuel away from these drivers is to force added pit strategy. If we get a few caution laps and drivers decide to stay out, they may be able to stretch it to halfway. I'm doubting that that'll happen, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. And another thing that I've noticed in these next generation cars is not a whole lot of tire fall off. The handling characteristics do certainly change. There is certainly a decent amount of fall off, but compared to what we've seen in years past with the Generation 6 cars, the fall off with these tires, especially in these cooler conditions, may not be very high.
Well, the other thing is that I'm going to have to rely on your expertise and your knowledge for that one because, Kenny, the EU race was chaotic and interrupted. All just constantly. It felt like we barely got 10 laps before there was another caution. In fact, we went through. I think we had 3 cautions in 10 laps earlier on. So again, very difficult for the drivers that have taken part in the EU group of this race to get any real knowledge about how the strategy is going to play out. So I think it's a brand new ballpark for them. But Kenny, we're ready to go green.
Here we go, and it's a pretty early start there by James Howard. He took control immediately after the pace car left the racing surface, and we are green here at Charlotte Motor Speedway as we speed down into turn 1 and 2 for the very first time. And that early start actually kind of helped the field kind of spread out. We also already have the top 15 or so single file, aside from a battle for second there between Metzger and Campbell, who's going for second already.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's a great start from James Howard, though. Sean Campbell, though, got a great start to get up into second place. Casey Metzger is the delivery that you were very much appreciating just before the race got underway there. It's a 4-car battle, actually, that we've got on the go here with, it looks like Mark Redford trying to join into that, and Harry Wills trying to join onto the back of that. It looks like Errol Lee Ruxoy having a little bit of a problem. He's been shuffled down to 9th position here. It looks like an absolute gaggle of cars further down. You've got 2 teammates almost bumping into each other here. Very, very early for that to be happening.
Oh!
We've got a car on the wall already.
Yeah, and that was TJ Hanley, I think. And I think so far we're staying green. Now, if these cars can keep it straight, you see Lilac Zier down in the grass, or the AstroTurf, rather. And Lilac's able to keep it going, and it looks like we're going to stay green here. But, yeah, that was interesting. What I noticed that a few corners before you noticed it, David, Earl there, he kind of came down on Cass Silliman, and that kind of shuffled him up the racetrack, and he kept trying to get back down into line, and he kept kind of coming down on the drivers that were trying to pass him, and it happened a couple times and really shuffled the field there, but we're able to stay green, and that's going to actually help spread the field out even more so.
Yeah, let's have a look here what happened with Errol then, just through that early stage there. As you said, kept trying to come down, almost goes into his teammate there, the number 46 of Dean Thames there, gets shuffled down again, contact then with the number 27, and that sends Travis Kepler off to the inside. Very lucky how Travis didn't come on and collect several cars there, and I've got no idea how we didn't get a caution out of that there.
Yeah, no clue, and I've been watching Errol for the laps afterwards, and he's just really struggling with the handling of his car. He's clipped the apron a few times. He's actually in a 3-wide situation right now, and he gets turned in turn 3. He's going to keep it straight at the moment.
What?
Still straight. And finally, now he's sideways. We still have no caution, though. There it is, finally.
What on earth just happened there, Kenny? I honestly thought we were going to escape that.
Yeah, that wreck just seemed to keep going and going and going, and Errol was turned in turn 3, and really what caused the caution didn't even happen until the exit of 4 out onto the front stretch with cars trying to avoid him.
Absolutely bizarre. Let's see if we can have a little look then at what happened with Errol Rexoy then. We'll have a little look here, because the thing is as you said, that just went on for so long. He's already halfway sideway there. He gets collected by the 66 of Kulaga and the 19 of Brown Meiling, By which point it's still green, it's still going. He's still trying to hold on to that car. Let's have a look on board. And you can see just how much lock he's having to put on there, Kenny, trying to hold on to that thing into the wall, and then ends up collecting another car there. That's what finally brings out the yellow flag. Unbelievable set of events there.
Yeah, and you see there when he was spinning, he was kind of on the transition there between the apron and the regular racing surface, and the transition here is pretty steep. It gets better or less steep on the exit of the corners, but you get stuck on the apron even under normal regular racing conditions, and it's treacherous. You do not want to be down there under any circumstances, and we do have a few cars coming in for pit service. I believe most of them are going to be drivers that were victims of damage. Judith Cooper, though, I don't remember seeing her involved in a whole lot of scuffles there at the beginning. She's in for some pit service, but I saw TJ Hanley came down. Harry Wills is also down. Oh, and I'm seeing Judith Cooper as manually disconnected. I'm not sure what that's about. Could be a problem. Ah, there she did
Yeah, I think she
spin.
got caught up in that first accident and got sent off into the inside. But because it was off the track, that's why we didn't get the yellow. She came back on, obviously tried to get going again, went into pit lane. I'm presuming it's been a case of she's maybe had, you know, 10 minutes or so of repairs and just thought, yeah, it's just not happening.
Well, the interesting thing though is that these drivers do have a fast repair. They have one repair per race. And we saw Travis Kepler, how he got into a little scuffle there that remained under green conditions. I believe he actually came in, took his fast repair under green, or at least did some repairs, and he's actually 2 laps down, but he is back out there on track in 23rd position. And he's the only driver at the moment that is any laps down. Once Judith will be lapped, but Travis should be passing her momentarily, and then Travis should be the free pass nominee next time we have a caution, as long as nobody else goes a lap down. But it looks like we are going to be doubling up probably next time by. We still have one more pace lap here before we double up.
Well, we did get a whole, what, 8 laps in before we got our first caution of the day. I think this sets things up nicely. If we had any hopes that it was not going to be as truncated as the EU race, I think those hopes are gone now. Especially, how bunched up the field will get just now. Massive risk of going straight into another caution. Drivers need to have sensible heads on, think that it's going to take at least 5 laps for these cars to get back up to speed, back up to temperature, and they just need to just kind of hold back a little bit. But I don't think everyone's going to get the message. Certainly, that's what we tend to see in some of the previous races here, Kenny.
Well, and that's a good point you brought up there, David, because a lot of these NASCAR races come down to give and take, and you can, if you choose to, you can make it very difficult on whoever you're racing against, especially if you're defending a position. If you want to, someone goes down below you to make a pass, you can really get right down on their door, make it very difficult from an aerodynamic standpoint for that driver if you don't allow them any space either through the corner or out of the corner. But that can, cause some issues if you put a driver in a bad position like that. But at the same time, they are entitled to do that. It's a race for a reason. So it's just some drivers, choose to be super aggressive both offensively and defensively right from the get-go. Others like to kind of ride and race the track itself more than the actual competition that's out there. That's kind of more my style. But yeah, we saw a really good strong start from James Howard on the initial green. We'll have to see if he chooses to go early like he did the first time, because that really seemed to spread the field out pretty nicely.
It really did, didn't it? And the lights on the safety car are off, so we're just a couple of minutes away from finding out. And this is the thing for Howard as well, is it's one thing being up front, but he obviously knows exactly how to do this. It's not going to be his first time at the fair here. We saw how crucial it was for the likes of Dean Timms and Who else was it from the EU one? Harry Wills, who actually took the win. Harry was just ridiculously good at the restarts there, backing everyone up and then just gunning it. What you don't want to do is be hesitant. That's when mistakes can happen. But yeah, Kenny, let's get going for this restart.
Yeah, that's another good point. You do want to be committed to whatever kind of moves you're going to make. Hesitation does not usually yield good results. But here we go. Green flag is back out. James Howard again pretty early on the throttle, and that's going to give him a very good jump into the lead. He's already got about a 2 car length advantage over Campbell side by side for third place. That is Redford and Metzger. Metzger kind of shuffled out of the groove there at the moment, and he's going to lose some momentum and open the door up for Cass Silliman. Silliman's had a very strong start to this race. She started in 7th place, already up into the top 5 as we have a side-by-side battle for the lead. Campbell going after James Howard here for the lead, only a few laps in here.
Who was that went flying off on the inside there? Was that Cass Silliman or on the inside there? Went flying over the infield there, still holds on to it. Side by side with Casey Metzger there, but yeah, you're absolutely right. What a battle that was between Sean Campbell and James Howard. It looks like that one's resolved itself, and it's actually James Howard now sent off into the clutches of Mark Redford for this battle for first and second. But look at that run out of the final corner there from James Howard. That is unbelievable pace that he's got right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Charlotte when you drive, these higher downforce cars. It's sometimes hard to get away from the pack when there's not a lot of off throttle time. That was near contact there, right front or left rear between the two leaders. Howard's going to try to get back in line here, but so yeah, as the leader, it's sometimes hard to get away from the pack, and it's really easy for the driver in second to, be creative and make runs, as it's really packing up here at the front. You have the two leaders side by side. Third place Mark Redford not sure where to go, and behind them Cass Silliman and Metzger side by side as well.
Wow, this is an awesome start to the race. You've also got, that looks like Thomas Fisher going down very, very low as well. This is now exactly what we want to see. We didn't get any racing like this in the EU series at all. This is firm, hard but fair racing, Kenny. They've got a lot of trust around their fellow drivers here, and certainly I don't remember any race so far this season where we've had, about 11 cars within about 2 seconds of each other. This is an amazing opening pack that we've got here. We're already 15 laps into this race, but you get the feeling something's got to give.
And I've noticed one driver really coming up through the field right now, and that's Caitlin Height there in the Ford that's dressed like a BMW. She made a pass on Thomas Fisher, and Fisher gave absolutely no room, but she was able to make it happen and get by anyway. So a strong move for the number 11 car. Ooh, maybe a little bit of contact there between Metzger and Silliman. Silliman able to get that pass done and save it, and that's going to maybe cause Metzger to lose some more spots. And again, that's part of the risk when you're up high and you're trying to defend your position. If you decide to really squeeze that driver down and you get shuffled out of the groove, for one, you really can't blame that for anyone for that happening, and two, it can cause you to lose even more positions because now you've lost all your momentum trying to regain your car control.
Well, talking about losing momentum, that was Stephen Martinez actually who ended up going off track there slightly, just there. I think he gets a little bump from the 46 of Dean Timms, gets sent across the grass. My God, that's unbelievable car control to hold on to that and not actually cause a crash there.
Now, the one good thing about Charlotte Motor Speedway having the AstroTurf on the infield now is that it's a little bit easier to actually drive through the infield if you absolutely have to. Whoa, Cass Silliman is around in turn 1 and 2. She goes for a difficult run into the wall. And this is one of the storylines that I was looking, kind of dreading in a way for these drivers. Is we talked about it off air. You get sideways, try to catch it, turn the wheel right and just straight up into the outside wall. And that's exactly what happened to that 25 car.
That's exactly what you can see it there, fighting with the car. Now, obviously, this is in slow motion here, but again, from your experience, you'll be able to tell us what that's like, Kenny. That whole feeling of trying so hard to save it. What point do you realise that you don't have it? Is it just literally when you're going towards the wall?
Yeah, I mean, well, I could tell from the amount of opposite lock that she had to put in there that she was in trouble. I mean, there's always a chance that you can maybe bring it back, but when you have that much opposite lock, that's a problem. And that's the thing about another thing about Charlotte is when you dive down into the corners here, the car can really, if you don't really put the car in at the kind of the correct angle or the right speed, you can really upset the back end of the car right as soon as it kind of loads down into the corners, especially turn one and two. And that seems to be what the case was right there. And luckily for Silliman, I believe she'll be able to take a fast repair, but definitely a setback for her as she was doing so well early on.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to see. My goodness, that is a rabble of cars heading down into pit lane just now. We've got about 10 to 12 cars there. Pretty much everyone that was in the top 10 is in there. I know that obviously as commentators we're supposed to be impartial and completely unbiased, but one car you mentioned there, Caitlin Height, in that BMW style car, my god, I absolutely love that thing. It is just the best looking car completely. I mean, to, it's like of all the cars you can make it look like, to make it look like a BMW is just so out there, and it actually being a Ford, yeah, I love that thing so much. It's just such an amazing homage to BMW.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. Looks a lot different than any of the other cars out there. I noticed on as far as pit strategy goes, everyone came in on the lead lap aside from two cars at the front, and that's John Cooper and TJ Hanley. Now, Hanley actually pitted on the first caution on lap 7. Remember, he was, a spun car there. That's the 25. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Cass Silman. Ah, that's, you hate to see it, and then because obviously it comes up on my little event monitor that the cars have crashed, and you think maybe coming out of pit lane it's just been a little one, but yeah, that's just
Oh,
so
she had a
awkward.
huge bump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
coming
of
up through the
course
gears.
Jeff's just had to slow right down to avoid it. Thankfully, avoiding the wall. So, other than the fact that we actually caught that on the replay, no harm, no foul. I think to that car of Cass Silman. So she'll be able to regroup, and because she's still in the position where she's on the lead lap, realistically, I mean we've seen cars come back from way further behind than this.
Oh yeah, and with the field not being too huge in this race, and the fact that she was definitely not afraid to pass some cars there at the beginning, I'm sure she'll be making a charge through the field. And long, long bit of racing left to go. We still have about 80 laps to go. And the thing is, too, I don't think we're done. We're definitely not done pitting, in this race. So she can use strategy to her advantage, just like what John Cooper just did. He went from starting eighth up to first just like that because he is left as the only driver to not make a pit stop so far. TJ Hanley ended up pitting one lap later than the rest of the field. So it's only going to be Cooper at the front of the field here. And it'll be interesting to see how he's able to control this pace. First off, what his restart strategy is, and secondly, how long can he kind of hold the lead up there? I'm not exactly sure what his pace is going to be um, once we get going, but he does have an advantage of clean air, and that does play into things. Just being able to run whatever line you choose, as we do have the one to go signal, and he will line up with Dean Timms, who is now second place after the pit stops. So an opportunity for the 46 car to possibly grab the lead here.
Yeah, certainly could. I'm just having a look at TJ Handley's car now. TJ was in the Discord chat saying that they had something for us in the broadcast booth, and I'm trying to say it. I'm pretty sure that livery hasn't changed. It's a blooming good looking livery. On that note, Kenny, it's quite impressive, isn't it? Just how much effort these guys and girls out there on the track go to give themselves their own style. You get some of the drivers that are maybe want to emulate their heroes, but some of them, this is part of their sort of either their hobby or their profession here.
So if you look on the right side of TJ Hanley's car, it says, "Why is broadcast looking on this side? Did I spin? Oh, I hope not." So that's the
Oh,
you can
yeah,
just
yeah,
see
yeah,
the
I see
bit
it,
of
I
it
see
right
it.
there on that shot. Nice little touch from TJ. He's been fun to hang out with during these races. He's actually had some really good finishes for a driver that's not that experienced in iRacing. So he's definitely a driver that anybody can root for. As we're about to take the green flag here with John Cooper controlling the field this time.
Let's see how they go under green flag conditions then, and you can see the cars just bunching up here. John Cooper gets a great start actually and leaves Dean Timms. That takes the 29 of James Howard down on that bottom line as well, but he then immediately moves up, and so did John Cooper, at least he tried to, but he couldn't because James Howard had already taken the top line. That top line really seems to be where all the pace is, Kenny.
Oh,
It's got all, and already we've got cars spread out nice and wide further down, and they've all got one again. That is
yeah,
impressive. Well, they did get going.
yeah,
And because, oh my good lord,
yeah.
who
There was
went to
a
the moon? That was Matthew Plaisance.
Yeah,
Um,
Plaisance absolutely ramped over Caitlin Height's car and then got launched by, I believe it was
wow,
Carollo.
that was actually quite impressive. I'd give him maybe a 4.5 for landing.
Yeah, I think he got some Tony Hawk's grinding points on the fence there. That was pretty impressive.
So
But
he's already in the air by this point. Right, let's see if we can try and head a little bit further back. But my goodness me, he really did. Oh my goodness me! So he just launched into Caitlin Hyde into her car. The car's already launched into the air, and it's starting to look like a stunt from a Fast and Furious movie at this moment on the side. But the thing is when we caught him, he already went in. Oh, so it was the 63.
yes, so
My
that was the
goodness me,
second time he had launched.
that gives me real Daytona 500 vibes from the other year. They're right on that final lap, just the way that car got collected and sent up into the air. Goodness me, that was a 63, wasn't it, of Earl Erexoy?
Yeah, and the
So
thing is too, with that 9 car is he didn't land on his lid or he didn't land on his wheels. So because of that, even though he's got the fast repair and everything, he has to tow in order to get back to the pits. So that's unfortunate for him. He's
yeah,
going to have to sit and he's already gone 1 lap down. He may go more down just to get back out there.
I don't know if there's going to be anything left to get back out on that car here. Let's have a look at. Oh my god! Um, well, I'm trying to see if there's any panels that haven't been. Yeah, that car I think is ready for the scrapyard, Kenny.
Well, hopefully he hasn't used that fast repair yet and it won't matter. So he'll be able to come back out. I did notice that John Cooper did decide to come into the pit lane this time. He's going to shuffle out to about 14th place. Some other drivers came in, Mark Redford, Caitlin Height, for obvious reasons. She was involved in that last accident. Dean Timms actually came in as well, and TJ Hanley came in. Justin Delano was in. Those possibly were a few drivers that were involved in that last incident as well. That was another incident where, David, it seemed like the wreck kind of started down the backstretch and then kind of didn't really climax until into turn 3 and 4 there. It looked like, again, they were going to maybe be able to keep things green. And with Charlotte having a lot of apron and runoff space down on the inside part of the track, a lot of times incidents down there will not be cause for caution through iRacing.
It's a very strange one for us as spectators because obviously you see the cars having the accident at the start of the straight, at the start of the exit of that corner, and you think, all right, okay, so they've gathered it up, they're just going slow, and then it happens at the end of the straight there. But of course, what happens is it comes back to something you mentioned about 10 minutes ago, Kenny, momentum and how important it is to hold on to that at this track. If you lose speed, you're not just going to lose a position, you're going to lose about 10, 15 positions. And if you've got 8 cars or 10 cars that are going all over the place at maybe say 30, 40 miles an hour slower than every other car out there, it's just going to be pandemonium and a matter of time before somebody gets collected. So there's an air of inevitability about that, but it's a difficult one for the cars at the back because what do? If you don't take that risk, then you're not going to make up big positions. But if you do take that risk, you could be sent into the air like our boy Matthew Plaisance there.
Yeah, and drivers are very desperate to keep up that momentum and to also take advantage of drivers that they see have lost momentum. If you see a driver up in front of you that has gone up the track or has had to check up for any reason, that's like, smelling blood in the water. You want to take full advantage of that because passing is difficult in these cars when you're just trying to pass straight up. So because of that, any type of, advantage that you can find, you want to take it. And on the other side of that, you know how difficult it was to get your passes done. So anytime you lose momentum, it really, puts yourself into a very defensive posture in order to try to keep track position. So that's kind of where the aggression comes in on both the offensive and the defensive side of things. And on top of that, if we have a bunch of cautions, that's just, laps burning away and time burning away that drivers are unable to, attempt to make their track position better. So as we get further and further down towards the end of this race, if we continue to have these cautions, well, that's more and more time being lost and less opportunity for these drivers to, race their way up to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the whole meme of yada yada racing driver, go for the gap. If you're no longer, then you're no longer a racing driver, etc., etc. You have to take the chances. That's why you're taking part. You're not just in this championship just to make up the numbers. You're here to get the best position that you can. Obviously, you're going to weigh up the pros and cons, but yeah, it is what it is. But we get ready to go green here, Kenny.
Yeah, James Howard is back up to the front where he started, and again, another pretty early start, which has worked out 3 for 3 now for him as he settles into the lead with Sean Campbell single file behind him. Harry Wills has now worked his way up to third place. You see there on screen Steven Martinez, a little bit out of shape, but he's able to settle in to the 5th spot. But a huge run from Cass Silliman looking for redemption after some problems she's had early on. She has now worked her way back into the top 5, and how quickly that has happened.
It certainly has, isn't it? The pace on that car,
Boy, and we were just for a second there looking at a really tight battle there between John Cooper. Oh, and Cooper actually put Braden Mailing in the wall there, and you see him at the top of the screen scraping along turn 1 and 2. And he's able to keep it going. That car might have some pretty serious damage, though, as Cooper was kind of not clear there and kind of moved up on him and put him into the fence.
and Brandon Mailing actually has a crash there. So there we go, 4th caution of the day there, and that's because he ends up jumping back to the pits there. So obviously tried to keep things going on there, but it just wasn't to be. We'll see if we can try and get a replay of that.
I'm not positive, but Mailing actually may have caused the caution by stopping on the backstretch. He was on the apron, but I didn't really see any other wreck. David, you maybe could find it. This is actually the incident that caused his issue to begin with. You see there, Cooper just kind of moved up, and that it was kind of during the quad oval of this mile-and-a-half track, and that it can get pretty narrow through that section. But you see here, he drives down the backstretch, he goes down to the apron, and then he just locks it down. And I'm wondering if that's what actually brought out the caution.
Yeah, it's a strange one though, because obviously he's off the racing line, and you would have thought that, yeah, oh well, if
Yeah, and a few drivers have done that. Mostly drivers towards the back, though. TJ Hanley, Justin Delano, Mark Redford, Rich Matthews, Eric Kulaga are all into the pits, along with some other drivers that were laps down. Not really any of the leaders that time. Now, if you do pit now, you do still have to pit one more time. So, um, not gaining a whole lot. And I'm noticing that, with the fact that we haven't run that many green flag laps means that there has not been that much tire wear going on yet. The leaders all pitted on lap 19, so they have, less than 10 green flag laps on those tires. However, Thomas Fisher there coming down the pit lane along with Jeff Carollo. So that's an interesting call because now they're going to lose all that track position. But who knows? If we run a few more cycles, they may stay out and kind of flip-flop with the lead pack.
I wonder actually if this is a very clever strategy call from the two of them, because they're kind of beating the curve here. Given that we've already had 4 cautions in 30 laps, you know there's going to be another caution. It's likely going to come in the next 10, 15 laps. So maybe this makes sense. Take it in, take the hit of the extra time for the tires and the fuel on the chin, and potentially make up some big places by staying out with future cautions.
And also, depending on kind of where you're at in the field, if you feel like you don't really have the pace or, for whatever reason, don't feel like that, you have the winning car, getting doing something different than the leaders as far as pit strategy is another way you can win these races. You just have to, do something different than the leaders. And this is one example of it that you can do. We'll have to see if we get another caution if these two drivers specifically decide to stay out and how long they decide to stay out for. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if we have another short run, if the leaders like James Howard and such stay out again. Well, yeah, this might be a move from Carollo and Fisher that doesn't really show its true colors until, laps and laps down the road.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. And I'm also watching Matthew Plaisance here. I wonder if he's going to get the wave around here, because he is a lap down. It doesn't look like he's having to go to the end of the line here. I think if there is another caution, he then comes back onto the lead lap there, and he is actually in a really good position, especially given how badly damaged that car was. So incredible turn of events, but it's also, 35 laps in, we've had 4 cautions. It's, you kind of want to shake these guys and girls by the shoulders and tell them just to calm it down a couple of notches for the next 50 laps.
Yeah, and eventually we're going to get to the point where drivers have already used up their fast repair, and we'll have to either drive the rest of the race with a wounded car or just call it quits for the rest of the night. And at that point, when the field starts getting smaller, generally the racing gets a little cleaner just because there's more spread out field because the field's smaller. But one other driver real quick before we're going green here. I am watching Harry Wills because obviously he won the EU race, but he does have the fastest lap of this race so far at a 29.74, which is almost a tenth faster than the next fastest fast lap. So that's a pretty big margin in a NASCAR race. So I'll be definitely watching out for him. But here we go. James Howard has control of the field. He did let the pace car get off the track for a couple seconds there before he went, but he fires off nicely again, and he's able to single file himself out along with the top 4 as we go down into turn 1 here. Lilac Zira is now popped back up into the top 5, getting around Steven Martinez, as now the top 7 or so are single file down the backstretch.
Here they come then with 35 laps in the book, and it's James Howard from Sean Campbell, Harry Wills in 3rd position. Cass Silman has got herself all the way back up to 4th position. Lilac Zier, she's in 5th position as well. Stephen Martinez in 6th, John Cooper in 7th, Errol Aruxoy. Again, surprised to see him back up into the top 8. Caitlin Height, she is in 9th position. Dean Timms in 10th as well, but again, this top 10 is just so tightly packed, and yet of all the action that we're seeing and all the drama and the collisions, it's not coming from this top 10 group here.
Nope, and that they're up there in the top 10 for a reason. And you see there Harry Wills, is trying to take that second spot away from Campbell. Campbell gave him some racing room, so he's taking away his line there in 1 and 2, but he gave him racing room. These guys are really fighting it out, and that's going to lead to Cass Silliman poking into this battle here. She's going to go to the outside of Harry Wills. Not going to be able to make that work, but here at Charlotte, you can make the outside work, especially in turn 3 and 4 if you do it right. But look at what this side-by-side battle is doing to the gap up to the leader. That's allowing James Howard to extend his lead to about 5 car lengths or so. Or more, as these drivers real close, and Harry Wills gets really loose off of turn 4 or turn 2, trying to stay off of Campbell there, and that's going to open the door up for Silliman as she's going to go by. They're going to remain side by side around 3 and 4, but she should have the momentum off of 4 as long as she can keep the car straight. Yeah, Wills is doing a great job being pinned down on the bottom, trying to stay with it here.
Yeah, he really is. But did you see how much Castleman had to let off the throttle there? That about 2 laps ago. There, she caught right back up to the tail end of Sean Campbell with that fight with Harry Wills there, and almost had to slam on the brakes. Such was the pace that she had, and there was no way to get by here. But Harry Wills, how he's still able to make that lower line work, and now look at Silman got the run there from Sean Campbell, the two of them. I wonder if Harry Wills actually getting a little bit of side draft here. And Wills could be in the pound seats to try and pounce on the second position here. But Silman, I mean, to her credit, hammering that thing round the outside here, Kenny. That is impressive driving. Finally gets moved on there. Yeah, I am very, very impressed with that drive there.
Yeah, usually in years past we've seen that the top line can really work, or kind of almost a diamond line, where you come up the track in 3 and turn 3, and you come back down in turn 4, can give you a lot of momentum, so you can make that front stretch as long as possible. As far as we have a caution on track again, but as far as the momentum in the high line on turn 1 and 2, that's historically been a lot more difficult to make that work. And Silman actually made the pass there in turn 1 and 2, so that was very impressive. And she went way up the hill. I thought it was going to be too far up the track, but she got it done.
We'll have to try and find out what actually happened on that one, because I'm wondering if it was Casey Metcalf, because Casey isn't the only one that's in the pit lane there, but I can't see any real rhyme nor reason. So let's jump back and see here.
Yeah, so in turn 3 and 4, Metzger and Thomas Fisher were trying to pass TJ Hanley. And yep, you got it on screen right now. They're trying to pass TJ Hanley here. They almost try to split him, and they both get together out of turn 3 and 4 here. You see Fisher gets underneath, and he kind of just pushes up into Metzger there, and they both wreck. Looks like it was just a 2-car accident, but yeah, pretty hefty one for both those drivers. And you see one driver come flying through. Was that Carollo maybe came through there and just missed him?
Wow, that was frightening stuff. And of course, Metzger sent flying into pit lane, so I'd imagine that's going to be a penalty for improper entry into the pit lane as well. So yeah, it's safe to say that Casey Metzger's day is going from bad to worse here, but a lot of the cars heading into to pit lane again. And like we said, this is where we have to keep our eye on our drivers that went into the pits. In fact, pretty much everyone into the pits this time by here.
Well, remember, Fisher was one of those drivers that pitted last time, and his strategy is kind of all for naught because of the fact that he was involved in this most recent caution. So obviously he's in the pits. However, Carollo has stayed out. He is in 5th place at the moment, but he is the last driver that has stayed out that's on the lead lap. So that's going to be, that could be a little bit rough, because he's going to have the fastest drivers on brand new tires right behind him. Granted, his tires aren't very old, and he does have way better track position than he had, so even if he loses a few spots and settles in, that's still a net gain. But it looks like it's Lilac Zier, John Cooper, Caitlin Height, TJ Hanley, and Jeff Carollo that have all stayed out here. And whoa, that was a narrow miss from Carollo there, and he stayed committed, that's for sure.
Yeah, he wasn't letting that go, was he? There wasn't even the slightest hint of lift while that was all going on there. My goodness me! Obviously, we thought it was that pink and orange car of Jeff Carollo, and just confirming it there, that on board was absolutely frightening to see the reaction times, because at which point you just either go for it or you don't. There's no hesitation is what gets you injured and gets you into wrecks, and thankfully none of that from Jeff. So up into fourth position there, but. I mean, there you go. Lilac Zier and Caitlin Hyde first and third position. So a really strong showing from the ladies out there today. John Cooper in second place as well, and it's we've got quite a few of the Prismatic Motorsports contingent out with us through the season, and I think it's safe to say they're showing how it's done this season.
Yeah, they've been very strong so far, no matter what discipline we've been racing in, and Lilac's found herself up in the front for the first time tonight, and she's been kind of hanging around that top five though all night long. Just been having a pretty quiet night so far. And John Cooper is an interesting story too, because here he is, finds himself up in the front again after he was kind of in mid-pack most of the race, and then he all of a sudden didn't pit and found himself as the leader. And that didn't go, it went okay, but then he pitted and went to the back again, and now he flip-flops back up to the front. So when we get down to it here, we get closer and closer to the end, more drivers are going to be, a little more unwilling to give up that track position. But until then, we're going to continue to see this flip-flopping effect if we continue to have cautions, because unlimited tire sets. So, if drivers want to get a new set of tires on, that's not a problem. So that's why you're seeing so many pit stops out there. And again, most of the field actually did pit that last this caution we're on right now. So definitely not the majority strategy to be staying out under this one. But I have a lot of confidence that these drivers up front can still make this strategy work.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that one. Just seeing that safety car lights are off just now. Also, YouTube chat, Phantom02 now. I'm trying to figure out who that was, because we saw Phantom02, if I go into chase cam a second, it was on the rear ends of one of the cars that is, I would imagine, no longer with us. But anyway, basically saying that they've pulled it in. The car was meatballed and they weren't going to risk it. So I think, yeah, at some point you've kind of just got to admit it's not going to be your night, call it a night, and maybe just crack open a little beer and enjoy the broadcast with us.
Yeah, we're 2 by 2 here. About ready to get this one under green again, and this will be the first time that Zier will have control of the field here with Cooper to the outside. Pace car has left the racing surface. And a little bit of a gap there in row 2 with Carollo there on the high side. See if he tightens it up here. There goes Zier. Pretty slow pace there to start this one, but Zier's off to a nice start, able to single file out. Caitlin Height able to take advantage and slip into second place. And John Cooper will drop down into third. But we'll be watching James Howard, who shoots up to the outside immediately, trying to get those positions back as quickly as he can. And he's settled into fourth already down the back stretch into turn 3.
Yeah, we've got 3 wide going into the corner there, and that is going to be Jeff Carollo. Sean Campbell getting pushed out to the wall there as well. Cass Silman, but just beside Harry Wills here. And we've got a move for the lead then. Caitlin Hyde alongside Lilac Zier here. And Hyde, the pace on that BMW slash Ford slash whatever the hell it is unbelievable. The conviction and the just the confidence she had there it's almost like when a driver tells himself, Kenny, that they're going to take that position. That's exactly what happened there, and Caitlin was just, I am going to have that lead, and that's exactly what she's done. My goodness me, that was very impressive. But here comes John Cooper with the run as well.
Yeah, John Cooper's actually done a really nice job after settling in on this restart, and all of a sudden he has really closed the gap up to second and first, and has actually pulled away a little bit from James Howard. Now that he's caught up to the leaders, I expect Howard to kind of catch back up here. It's kind of a almost a slinky effect. Whoever's kind of held up by traffic in front is obviously going to be running slower lap times than somebody who's got a gap in front of them. But we do have another caution here. It looks like, oh, it's Urexoy and Plaisance, and I think that's going to be night over with for the 9 car Plaisance. Another violent accident for the number 9.
That is not what you want to see. Let's see if we can find out exactly what has happened here to poor El Rexoy. Goes to the inside.
So there's Urexoy. He gets a little tap there, yeah.
Oh, that's a shame from Rich Matthews. That is, oh my God, that is Matthew Plaisance there. He collected the 63 and then hit that divider wall face first. That is, yeah, that is not what you want to see. We'll go on board actually with Matthew Plaisance here and see exactly how little he saw. Bang, bang. That's it. Good night, Vienna.
I'm glad that iRacing doesn't simulate having to clean up all the sand that's normally in all those barrels, because we'd be sitting here for a while if we've had to deal with that. But yeah,
Never mind that, Kenny. Could you imagine if he was in VR, the amount of sand he'd need for his room? Goodness me, that was. Ooh, that's just making me feel queasy just thinking about that. Poor Matthew. I mean, he's been through the wars tonight as we see Caitlin Height into pit lane here.
Yeah, that's interesting, as she has not really dragged that many cars down to pit lane with her. Redford is in and Fisher is in. Other than that, everybody else has stayed out. So now we're at halfway, or lap 50 right now. We're to the point where you could maybe stretch it on fuel from here on out. Now, we keep having cautions again. That's going to be pretty much irrelevant. But I do have to bring up that point where if even if we do have a bunch of cautions, if people want to stay out, they can, and probably make it on fuel, or at least right now we're getting into the conversation of talking about making it the rest of the way on fuel. So I have to touch on that point because you never know when that long green flag run may come.
And the wonderful thing about this championship as well, Kenny, again you'll have experienced this so far in the season, is the fact that even at this halfway point, we've got 16 cars on the lead lap here, maybe even more, maybe up to about 20 cars on the lead lap here. There's no way you can hand on heart say yes, this person is going to absolutely win this race. In reality, we've got absolutely no idea how the top 5 of this is going to look in 30 laps time, never mind towards the end of the race. It's all to play for. It's only halfway in the race, and yet the entire thing could be turned on its head at any point.
Yeah, and we've seen some cars that have kind of stood out with their speed, like James Howard and Silman and Campbell's been pretty fast, Harry Wills, but the pace is not the only factor that goes into winning these races. You have to put together an entire event. You have to make sure your pit strategy is right. You have to make sure you hit your marks both on the track and in the pit lane. And a lot of times it comes down to the details, and you have to sprinkle in a little bit of luck in there as well, because all these drivers have experienced traffic throughout this race because of the fact of pit strategies flip-flopping constantly. So you have to make sure you keep your car clean through those trying times when you're in traffic. So there's a ton of factors that go into winning a race like this, not just oh, this car's the fastest. And sometimes the fastest car does win, but it's not not always going to happen. And we did have a couple more cars come into pit lane there that last lap. Drew Neubauer and Justin Delano came in. Travis Kepler is in the pits right now, I believe, taking some damage repair of sorts. But we're single filed out here. Should be, I'm guessing, getting the 1 to green here next time by, and Lilac Zier will have control of the field once again with John Cooper again in second. But this time, James Howard will be in third, and that'll be interesting because he's been aggressive on these starts. He's been really good on the restarts from the lead spot. But this time I fully expect him to be all over these two leaders here right from the get-go.
Well, that's what we're away to find out. And to be honest with you, with the time being 10-3 here in the UK, Kenny, I've had to cave in. I've got the unnamed can of energy drink. I'm ready for this final 47 laps. Whatever this has got to throw at me, I'm going to be here for it. Lilac's there, though, up in front of that field. John Cooper, though, in second position. Sean Campbell, I cannot believe, and this is the bit that's really getting to me, Kenny, the difference between his car from the EU race to this US race. I wonder if he had some heavy damage on that thing, because the amount of steering that he had to put in to keep it going in a straight line was unbelievable, and yet here it looks planted, it looks solid, and he looks very comfortable with it.
I do wonder, there's always a possibility that maybe he's got a different setup underneath his car too, for the US race. But yeah, he's looked super solid, in my opinion, or maybe he's kind of learned a few things of how to drive this track more properly. But regardless, he's been strong in the top five pretty much all night long. And but here we go. Lilac Zier doubled up with John Cooper here out of turn four. Pace car is on pit lane, and Cooper, I don't know if he was maybe trying to scrub the tires or not, but and he spins the tires and wrecks at the front of the field.
No, not like this.
Not everybody's going to be so lucky to get by. Jeff Carollo was involved in that, and I think Howard got a little bit of damage in that too. He's able to get by it, but he did get sideswiped there by James Howard. That was a really
Wow,
unfortunate situation.
legitimately, I've never seen anything like that in my life. That was right. Let's go on board then with Cooper here. So he tries to go for it, and he just lights up the rear tires. That's all he's done.
Well, you see, he goes once and then realizes the leader's not going. He was trying to anticipate the jump by Zier, and I almost wonder, because if you can, it's very easy to have some tire spin in these cars depending on the setup and the track. And since he already went once and appeared to kind of light up his tires once, that meant that the second time that he tried it, his tires were already hot, and that was just going to magnify that tire spin. And he made the same mistake kind of twice, and lit up those rear tires, and just wasn't able to hang on to it.
Well, thankfully, despite how epic that looked, I think there was only one car that got a little bit of contact onto it from that instant there. So everyone else getting away safely, and it looks like it's going to be into the pit lane then for John Cooper. Obviously used the final their fast repair, as we see the car's going exceedingly slow.
Yeah, and that's because of the fact that the pace car was probably, I'm guessing it was forced to come out. Yeah,
That's
here
the
it comes.
point.
Finally, it's coming out. It's because the caution happened right on the start finish line, and the pace car was already in pit lane, had to go all the way back through pit lane and then come back out. So now we can resume pacing. But I did notice that Howard did come into the pits. He did take his fast repair. He had some pretty hefty right front damage from when he got sideswiped there by the spinning car of Cooper. And so he is one that, I mean, that's really unfortunate situation for him, because it was just completely out of his control there, and he's going to have to essentially waste that fast repair in order to stay competitive. And now for the last 45 laps, he's lost track position and his fast repair. So we'll have to monitor his progress throughout the field, because he's obviously one of the fastest cars out there.
Yeah, and really showing that the reputation that he's got is very well deserved. Sean Campbell, we said, in that second place as well. Cass Silman, how many times are we going to see Cass Silman in the midst of like all hell breaking loose, and she just walks past it like nothing's happened? It's very impressive. Harry Will's still up there in fourth position as well. So we're going to look now and see that the pace car is going to have one more lap after this. I'll be honest, Kenny. I hope you've brought a sleeping bag because this is going to be a long night tonight.
Well, we're beyond halfway, and the field's getting slowly smaller and smaller at this point. But we do have a few other cars that have come into pits again. Mark Redford, Eric Kulaga, Thomas Fisher, Travis Kepler's in. Um, a few of those drivers just doing some damage repair. Other drivers just pitting possibly on strategy because again, we're getting to that point where we're, you know, pretty much in that fuel window from this point on. So um, may see some drivers from here on out if they come in, might be their last fuel service, but we'll have to see. That's where really becomes interesting, the kind of battle between track position versus new tires. What matters more? And the longer you decide to stay out, and the closer and closer we get to the end, the more committed you have to be with that strategy to just keep staying out, or else you won't have enough time to get back through the field to regain that track position.
I was just thinking there, Kenny. I know we joke about cautions breeding cautions, but I've literally never seen that in my life. I mean, can you imagine how frustrating that must be for them to be on the front of the grids?
Yeah, I mean, it does happen. Cooper is still sitting in the pits, 2 laps down at the moment. Not exactly sure. I think he's still getting some service or something, or maybe serving a penalty of sorts. We'll have to see if he comes back out. But yeah, it does happen in the NASCAR world, coming up through the gears, especially it mostly happens on hot race tracks with worn tires. But yeah, especially with the, sequentials shifting too, you can always miss a shift and that can cause some wheel spin issues too. A lot of things go into these restarts, and again, it's all about the details. Um, I was kind of a victim of that in a league race of my own this past winter at Homestead in the Xfinity cars, where the leader with 2 laps to go on a restart took out basically the whole field. So it can definitely happen.
And of course, I can pass comment because I've got absolutely no skill at driving these cars whatsoever. I am absolute trash when it comes to oval driving. So, of course, I make the perfect commentator to be to talk you through all this. But here we go then. Green flag is about to fly, and Lilac's here about to take us over the line. Then with Sean Campbell on that outside line, and again, Campbell is much better at these restarts, I think, than anybody else. He keeps to the toe of Lilac's ear, and I think that lead is already under threat. But have a look at Harry Whittles. He's no slouch as well. Has a look at that outside line there, tucks back in, and kind of forces the position from Sean Campbell. Campbell's going for it right now.
Yeah, Campbell actually got a really good run off of turn 2 there by running that second line off the bottom, and he's going to shoot into the lead for the first time. And Zier's going to try her best to keep second place, but here comes Harry Wills shooting around the outside. He's going to clear for second place, and Silman trying to follow as well. A decent gap back to Steven Martinez in fifth. Ooh, I think Silman might have actually brushed the wall there coming out of the quad
yeah,
oval.
that's a great spot, Kenny. That's exactly what happened there, and that's going to end up bringing Steven Martinez into this battle as well now.
Yeah, Martinez has had a quiet night. He's pretty much been riding around the back portion of the top 5 or middle portion of the top 10, and but he's had a decently clean race, just kind of hanging out there. Taking a look at a few battles throughout the field, we got looking at Rich Matthews at the moment. He's in 11th place right now. Right behind, in front of him was a side-by-side battle, but we have another side-by-side battle for third place. That's Zier, possibly getting passed here by Silman, who obviously you see on screen there had some right side damage from that contact in the wall. We'll see how adversely that affects the handling of her cars. We have a side-by-side battle for the lead too. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you went back that far because it actually that's where it started, where Howard got threw up into the wall, and then he comes down the backstretch here with a wounded car. John Cooper is behind him, and yeah, just they come together. Howard kind of came down in that sense. I think it was a little bit of a coming together, but um, there's a lot of
That's
closing speed there because of the fact that Howard's car was wounded, and they both basically took each other out there. And Howard and Cooper are both disconnected.
Yeah, that for me, I mean, that's all on Howard. The fact that he came down, and then obviously Cooper's car. It looks like Howard comes down again, but actually, what happens is Cooper's car actually goes up because it's been forced down, and the two of them just get drawn into each other again. I think this is one of those nights where, yeah, you need to just call it and just otherwise bad things do tend to happen. You get frustrated. I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, Kenny, where you get past that point where you're actually enjoying yourself and it becomes a chore and you get upset and you get frustrated, and it just leads to more bad decisions.
Yeah, it can. These drivers are obviously coming in here for fun, but a lot of times when not even fun anymore, it's just best to kind of sit back and cool off and kind of relax and get ready for the next one. But also, in the case of Cooper and Howard, even if they want to come back onto the track, they both have already used up their fast repairs, I believe. So um, they weren't going to have a fun time back on the track, even if they were going to run some more laps. But looks like we do have a few cars in the pit lane with Urexoy, Neubauer. Height is in again. Silliman is in, possibly taking some damage repair. She's having a pretty long pit stop, so that's obviously what she's doing. Kepler, Carollo, and Delano in the pits as well.
So thankfully, just organising it so that we get a little chat with Harry Wills, who's out there just now on the next yellow flag, and well, he said that the next yellow flag he'll pop in so about 3 laps time. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. To be honest with you, as the pace car comes round, Harry Wills though in the lead of this race. That is unsurprising, but again, I'm also kind of surprised that we're finally about lap 63. I think we're going to get about at least 12 cautions here.
Yeah, we're definitely on pace for it. These leaders, it's kind of a shame because these leaders are having a really good battle up in front. The wrecks seem to be happening, 10th place and beyond. But that happens in dang near all forms of motorsports, though. Is the you get towards the middle and the back of the pack, and the racing is just it can be nasty sometimes. It's every driver's battling for anything that they can get. It's packed, congested, a lot of stuff going on, and that's generally where the accidents are going to happen in general. Usually up towards the leaders, things get a little more spread out, and they can kind of get it done. But this race certainly isn't over, and we have some other new drivers up towards the front at this point with Mark Redford, Rich Matthews. They haven't really been up in at least this close to the front all night long, so will be interesting to see, as well as see how Harry Wills will be able to handle his first restart as the leader here. Might see a few different things going on this next restart.
Oh man, I'm watching this race and I'm getting the old South Park NASCAR episode vibes with this one. It's like it's a 100 lap race. There's 20 people left. How many people can you actually hit in this race? And yet it's the same people that we're seeing who are almost magnetized to collisions. And this is the awkward thing about it, having done very limited running in oval racing. I know how quickly it can go from, oh, this is good. I'm in a rhythm. I'm feeling good. The car's feeling good. To, oh my god, I'm upside down and getting hit by about 10 cars. It's hero to zero stuff in the space of a minute here, and with 35 laps to go, and with what's that, about 16 cars, 15 cars on the lead lap here. I think we're going to see this many times over the next 25 laps or 35 laps or so.
Yeah, and
Buckle up, folks.
that's why give and take is such a big thing, is because the racing in stock cars is so close. In road racing, a lot of times the start's obviously really chaotic, but things spread out and it really becomes drivers racing against either one or two other drivers or just kind of racing the track and getting into a rhythm. That can happen in stock cars, but you're generally so close to the competition at really all times. And unless we get a really long green flag run, that's when things will start to spread out. But generally, you're near your competition for quite some time, and that's, kind of why you see the increased amount of collisions. But here we go. Harry Wills is going to lead the field down here. He's going to not take an early start. He's in the restart zone, and there he goes. He fires off a nice clean start from him. He shoots away for Mark Redford. We're side by side for third between Matthews and Timms, and Sean Campbell's trying to figure out who to follow through in order to grab a fourth spot, and he follows the bottom line, able to grab that spot, and he's looking for more.
Yeah, I'm just watching as well, see Jeff Carollo on that restart there. Oh, a little bit of a clip there onto the wall there, trying to chase down Eric Kalaga and Lilac Zia. Pretty massive fall from grace there. But again, Harry Wills just off like a shot right now. Mark Redford has absolutely nothing for him. Rich Matthews, though, having to defend from Sean Campbell and Dean Timms as well here. And it looks like that's going to be, that is Dean Timms trying to make a move up the inside there if Sean Campbell can't quite make it work just now. But here comes TJ Handler as well. Love that livery on that car, it's so clean looking. And just noticed there as well, Caitlin Hyde, she's tucking up and looking like she wants to get a run on this as well.
And she's one of the drivers who did pit on lap 62, as a bunch of other drivers did that as well. One thing to note, the leader, Harry Wills, he pitted way back on lap 42, so he actually has the oldest, tires out of basically everybody out there, and we'll have to keep an eye on that. If we are able to run some green flag laps, that could become a factor later on. Here's Sean Campbell trying to make a move on Rich Matthews, and Rich Matthews, interesting story about him, he did not qualify or practice, didn't put a time in either, coming in cold turkey and doing a great job.
Yeah, really is. I'm seeing Earl Rexoy falling through the order as well. He's out at the back of the field with nobody to get a tow from as well. And just from your point of view and from your experience, Kenny, when you've got a race like this where there's so many cautions, what are the frustration levels like for the drivers? Are they quite patient with it, or do they get a little bit temperamental with it?
Well, generally drivers get pretty frustrated, and from my perspective, I get frustrated because I'm a rhythm driver. I really like to be able to settle in, run multiple laps, kind of set up passes and be pretty calculating about it. If you're constantly under restarts, you aren't able to build up that rhythm, and that's kind of the frustrating part in my eyes anyway. But I mean, there's some other drivers that really thrive on restarts, and maybe today your car is not really handling the best that you want it to, and a restart is a way for you to actually take advantage of cars that might actually be faster than you, and you can gain spots from that. So most drivers are not going to really want restarts, but there can be a benefit to it. We did have a pass there while I was talking. Sean Campbell got by Mark Redford and has gotten into second place. It'll be interesting to see if he can run down Harry Wills. He's about 1.6 seconds behind the leaders, as David, you had a few battles there on the screen at the back portion of the top 10, and looks like the leaders, at least the top 7 or so, have single filed out.
Yeah, they really have, but Wills has just checked out 1.8 seconds ahead of this, and this now means, look at that run up the inside, Mark Redford out of absolutely nowhere there, and I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a bump draft there from Dean Timms on Rich Matthews there. He's fancying having a go as Sean Campbell goes back to that outside line. That brings Stephen Martinez yet again back into the fight here, into this 5-car battle for second place. Sean Campbell, Mark Redford, Rich Matthews and Dean Timms all in the mix here. Lap 73 out of 100. And as you said, as the cars start to whittle themselves down here, Kenny, now we start to see the cleaner racing.
Yeah, and I think what happened there is Campbell actually got really tight off of turn 4 and pushed up and got really close to the wall, had to get up out of the gas, and we go back to that momentum talk that we mentioned earlier, where he just lost a bunch of momentum, and that allowed Redford to just get that run that he needed to make that pass. And now these two are side by side, as Campbell's probably got the faster car. He made a few mistakes to allow Redford to get back underneath him here. But Harry Wills is just loving this. He's up over 2.8 seconds ahead of these guys, and it's going to keep increasing until these guys figure it out.
Call it a pessimistic or a gut hunch, but one of these guys is not going into the wall because we've got a yellow flag, and I get the feeling that might be Cass Silman who is bringing out the flag there. Indeed, Cass Silman off into pit lane. In fact, Cass Silman looks like disconnected from the server on here. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it was. Here. Yeah, Silman had she got loose off of turn 2, and again, the similar situation to what she had earlier in the race, where she got loose, tried to correct, and then just overcorrected into the outside wall. So easy to do in these Gen 7 cars. You see, she's already loose in the middle of the corner, gathers it back up, but then she gets loose one more time. Actually, this is on a different lap, but she does get loose a second time in turn 2, and then ends up going straight into the outside wall, and I believe she'd already used her fast repair, so she was unable to come back out.
This replay, I think, is just from the lap before here, just before the yellow flag came out, but nonetheless, I mean, it's been a really difficult watch for Cass. And there you go, there's that snap oversteer. This is exactly what you said right at the beginning of the race there, and you can see immediately the car is just gone as Cass Silman has had enough. And quite honestly, I can't blame her for just, you know, calling it quits and throwing in the towel on that one.
And it looks like she may be able to still get about a 17th or so place finish after the events tonight. But as far as pit strategy goes, a bunch of the leaders have come in. Looks like Redford is going to win the race off of pit road, which may be pretty important as we get down to the end of this thing. Redford, then Campbell, then Wills. So he actually lost some spots on pit lane there. Height, Martinez, Fisher, Hanley, Kulaga, Carollo, Neubauer, Delano, Urexoy, and Kepler all in the pits. That leaves Matthews, Timms, and Zier out there. And Matthews specifically pitted on lap 54, so he's been out there a little while, but obviously the drivers who pitted this time, I fully expect them to stay out the rest of the race with less than 25 to go.
Kenny, am I reading that right? Lilac Sears only pitted twice.
That is correct. Only twice, and every other driver is pitted 4 times at least.
I mean, that is impressive in itself. So Lilac, you know, obviously pitting only that twice. Last pitted, lap 62, so that would have been 14 laps ago. Given the amount of cautions here, I'm looking at that car and I'm thinking, yeah, that is in a very good position right now.
Yeah, and she can definitely make it on fuel the rest of the way here, so if she wanted to stay out, she can. We might see her come in one more time, but here's the thing, for those 3 drivers up front, their bet is pretty much made, because it's going to get to the point where they just don't have enough time to come back through the field, and their tires, if they pit later, are just not going to be new enough to make that difference to get back up through the field through everybody else that's already made their pit stops. So I feel like unless it becomes a complete failure for the top 3 drivers who are up front who have not pitted, I think their strategy is pretty well made.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that one though. But 23 laps to go. That means that we're going to get about 20 laps by the time that the pace car comes in. The lights are still on just now. Rich Matthews still in lead just now from Dean Timms. But as we said, the ones to watch out for me, Harry Wills down in that sixth position right now. Caitlin Hyde making some big inroads now, but you get the feeling as well, Kenny, having used, or for most of the field having used their quick repairs. This is it now. If you crash, you're done.
For sure. And one other driver I've been keeping an eye on is Thomas Fisher. We saw him have some problems earlier, and he's got a pretty clean car now after taking a fast repair. And he's been pretty quiet since his problems, but he's back up in a 10th, and he's going to be starting just behind some of the the faster guys um, who took tires that last time, like Harry Wills and Mark Redford and Sean Campbell. Those guys are going to be the ones really to watch here on this restart. But they still have plenty of time to really be calculating about uh, their passes. There's still plenty of time. We're going to have 21 laps to go when we go green, and they know they have the advantage on tires. But the key thing here is they're almost racing amongst themselves more than anything. Who's going to be that first driver that's already made that last pit stop to get to the front? That's the real battle that's going to go on here.
Yeah, that's I couldn't agree any more with you on that one. With 22 laps left to go, that's what is gonna, I think, decide this race. So many of them. I mean, the fact that Jeff Carollo is still up in with this with a shout, given what happened to that car, or what could have happened to that car earlier on. Again, it comes down to the fact that we've still got 15 cars, 16 cars that are within 2 seconds of the leader. It's still anybody's race right now.
Definitely is, but we'll see how good of a restart Rich Matthews has. Here he goes. He fires off as we take the green flag. A really good jump from him. Dean Timms in second has Lilac Zier to his inside. Zier will clear into second place down to 1 and 2. And Timms is going to kind of hold up this group. As you see Harry Wills go all the way up to the top, nearly up into the fence, as he tries to get it around his, looks like a teammate there based on the paint scheme. And that's going to open up the door for Caitlin Height, though, to make that pass as Mark Redford and Sean Campbell try to scatter away here as they try to run the leaders down.
Yeah, you see Caitlin Height down in that 5th position just now, up 16 places, but the real story is Rich Matthews, P22 he started, and up to 1st position, so that is an incredible start. But look at Sean Campbell. Is he going to be having a look to make it 3 wide? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit of a bump there to Rich Matthews, trying to keep that bottom line going with the momentum. Here comes Mark Redford as well, and now we are going to have 3 wide coming across the line here. This is starting to get really sketchy, Kenny, and less than 20 laps to go here.
Yeah, and right here is where Sean Campbell's anxiety is going to be peaked, because Redford is all on top of him, and Campbell knows that Redford's on the exact same strategy as him. So this is, potentially for the win, but don't look now. But Lilac Zier took the lead and has done a fantastic job of running away. And just like what we were talking about when Wills was running away with it earlier, this is exactly what she wants to see. Side-by-side battles behind her, and she wants to be able to run the qualifying laps, if you will, by herself, and try to run away from this. And all of a sudden, here comes Harry Wills right behind this group as Campbell clears Redford, and Wills right behind with Caitlin Height right behind them.
Fascinating battle we've got here with just 18 laps left to go there. It's still Lilac Zier then from Sean Campbell, Mark Redford in 3rd, and Rich Matthews, you can see side by side with Harry Wills. Wills gets the draft from the car behind him. That is going to be, I believe, Redford in that 3rd position. And fires it down on the inside then. So Harry Wills, the man on the charge right now, 17 laps to go. You would not put him off taking a win tonight.
For sure, and it looked like Redford, he fired off really well on that restart, but it looked like he has dropped off just a tad bit as we got a few laps on their tires. And now here comes Sean Campbell. Ooh, we have a little bit of a scuffle there in the back of the pack.
Wow,
oh, and I think that's going to pass caution.
That was terrible. That was absolutely awful there. I think that was Thomas
Fisher
Fisher.
got spun.
Yeah, well, Thomas Fisher. That if that was who it was that went back up, and I'm not too sure because I'll have to check. It might have actually been Rich Matthews. We'll get a look at the replay here, but that was absolutely terrible because Jeff Carollo just got absolutely wiped out. So we'll kind of see what happens here. I think it was Rich Matthews, but we'll double check just now. Uh,
Yes. So I think what happened was, yeah, Thomas Fisher lost control. You can see it on screen there,
that's the 92. Look
and
at
he comes
this.
down and comes back up across the track, and he was out of control. He was trying to regain and try to straighten his car up, and in order to do that, you have to kind of use up a decent amount of the track. And he came up across Carollo there, and basically ended both of their nights. And but the reason why Fisher got sideways in the first place was because he got a bump from behind from Dean Timms, who was kind of just pushing the issue a little too much there on the entry to two. And these cars are already so sensitive. Any bit of contact is most likely going to send the driver around.
Yeah, and I think it was maybe a little bit harsh there on Thomas Fisher, because from my experience with road racing, Kenny, we see many situations like that where the cars are so desperate to rejoin, and they end up causing another accident. But as you said there, Fisher's car was not under control at that point. He was still in the middle of having an accident, and just very, very unfortunate to collect Jeff Carollo. Even more unfortunate, I think, for Jeff Carollo to get taken up into that accident as well. But it looks like then we've still got Lilac Zier, we've got Sean Campbell, Harry Wills, Caitlin Height, Stephen Martinez, Mark Redford, TJ Handley, Dean Timms, Rich Matthews, Justin Delano, and Eric Kalaga, and Drew Neubauer. But I think that's Thomas Fisher, Jeff Carollo. I think they're done. They're going to be at least a lap down here.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where we only going to have about 15 or so cars out there, and looks like Lilac Zier's the only one staying committed to this strategy of staying out, and she had a great restart there, taking the lead and running away. Campbell was starting to run the leader down, and there was going to be a pretty good battle there, but didn't really have a chance to pan out, and we're going to have somewhere around 10 laps to go here, and David, looks like we're maybe going to catch up with our buddy Harry Wills.
Just trying to at the moment, just trying to bring him in, but he'll have to jump into the waiting room for us to be able to do that. But yeah, Harry's obviously over here in the UK like myself, and I think it's safe to say he's a little bit tired after a very long night of racing. But yeah, let's bring him in. Harry, a very good evening. Firstly, are you still awake, buddy?
I am. I'm 3 cans of not branded energy drink in, but we're doing really good.
I've just opened the first one. Right, 10 cautions, 13 laps to go. I mean, it's safe to say this has been a really difficult race tonight.
It really has. I mean, I think the combination of this car, this track, people aren't used to this combination yet. There's a lot of things to learn with this at the minute, and I think people are struggling quite a bit. But we're still out here having a go. I'm having a good race. Some people are having a good race. Obviously, some people haven't had a good race. But it's all time. I've turned a lot of laps here. I've probably turned 200, 300 laps here in the last few days. People who haven't got the time to do that, fair play. But obviously, that means that you're probably not going to enjoy your in your race as much as some others. Do you know what I mean?
And some wild incidents that we've seen tonight. 13 laps to go. We've seen you taking the top spot in the first race tonight with the EU. What's the game plan for this final race and the final 10 laps to go?
I mean, I've got 2 very strong rivals there. I've got Caitlin to my right rear. That's a concern. Mark Radford's quick. Stephen Martinez is quick. There's a lot of quick people up here. But I feel like I'm in a good place. My tyres are in a good spot at the minute where they've just bedded in and do what we can do. Hopefully it stays green. Hopefully have a good race, and hopefully I manage to finish ahead of all these chaps. So we'll see.
Awesome stuff. Well, we'll let you get ready and get prepared. Thanks for joining us, Harry, and we'll hopefully speak to you very soon, buddy.
That you shall. Thank you very much, guys. And yeah, it could get interesting, but we'll see what happens. So, cheers, guys. Thank you.
There we go then, Harry Wills in that number 95 machine. Again, for it being, 25 past 3 in the morning here in the UK, sounds very, very alert and very, very awake there.
Yeah, maybe it's adrenaline he's running on at this point because, these late restarts,
unbranded energy drink there, Kerry.
Oh, yeah. Well, some artificial adrenaline, maybe. But yeah, I mean, you get down to these last restarts, and I'll be honest. Even though this is a simulator, my heart will start pumping. I will shake a little bit. I mean, these get antsy, and even though we're here all for fun, you still want to win this race, of course. So here we go. Let's restart. Hopefully, it'll be the last one here as we come to take 11 laps to go. Lilac Zier takes control of the field. A pretty solid restart for her. Sean Campbell files in behind. Kalen Height here and Harry Wills side by side. This could be an important battle here as Wills has that bottom line. He's really hooks the bottom nicely and clears up into third. That's an important pass, but Height's not going to let him by that easily. But we do have a side-by-side battle for the lead as it's Campbell underneath Zier, and Zier's way up the track, maybe up into the wall a little bit there. That's going to give up the lead and second place and third place. So now the top three are all drivers who have pitted within 25 laps to go, and it's Campbell, Wills, and Height.
Yeah, Height looking like trying to hold on to that position from Lilac Zier. Lilac Zier ends up losing it to Mark Redford right now. Again, Wills, you would not put it past them, try to go for the lead there. Blocked off though by Sean Campbell. Not get past at any cost whatsoever. That now gives the momentum right now to Caitlin Height as we've got 9 laps left to go here.
Yeah, exactly. Every move that Wills makes that doesn't necessarily work is going to bring Kalen Height right up to these drivers up front. And don't count out Mark Redford if these three all decide to scrap and aren't able to really kind of figure it out. He might be in this thing because he actually pitted under that last caution, so his tires are 10 laps, not green flag laps, but 10 laps fresher than these three up front, and these three up front are just in a dogfight here. Height just trying to kind of figure out where to go. Wills trying to drive anywhere where Campbell isn't, although right now kind of mirroring his line, although that's obviously not what he's going to have to do to make the pass. You have to run where the drivers are not.
I think Caitlin's going to be having a little bit of PTSD at this point because this is now the third race in a row where Caitlin's been up in the top 3 towards the end of the race, and I don't think it had finished in the top 3, got taken out by another car in both of those previous races. And again, you wouldn't put it past Caitlin to actually take the win on this one. The pace on that car is absolutely incredible, but Harry Wills looks like he's just, we call it over here in Scotland, Kenny, biding his time. He's waiting patiently, just prodding at the defences of Sean Campbell right now, trying to make that stick, and it could be now as we've got 6 laps left to go. Go side by side with your race leader there, Sean Campbell, and this could be 3 wide then, because Caitlin Hyde is trying to make this 3 wide then, thinks better of it, pulls back away, and this is now a 3-car battle for the lead because they've dropped Redford and Martinez.
Yeah, this is definitely a 3-horse race, and you see Caitlin Height getting right up behind these two. And of course, you don't expect Sean Campbell to give much room up on that top side with it being late in the run. He does get a little bit loose there and gives a little bit extra room to Wills. You see Height looking to the high side, not going to be enough room to make it 3 wide. Campbell drives it in deep there on the top side, trying to keep Harry Wills pinned down to the bottom, doing a good job of that right now. These two drivers racing nice and clean for the time being. We're going to come around to take 4 laps to go, and Wills really threw it into turn 3 that time. He's still not clear, still not clear. Now he just slides up in front of the 26 car of Campbell. A really nice pass by Harry Wills with 4 laps to go, but the battle's not over.
It really isn't, is it? And have a look at Mark Redford and Stephen Martinez. They want to desperately join in that battle, but they're not getting a chance right now because here comes Hyde onto the back of Sean Campbell, then goes high, goes low, and Hyde moves into the inside position there. They're going to go side by side for a couple of laps, and this is music to the ears of Harry Wills right now. He streaks out into the front lane with just 3 more laps left to go here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Hyde can't make that move stick right now, and the gap is still starting to come back down towards Wills and Campbell. And have a look at Mark Redford and Stephen Martinez, Kenny. This is starting to get a bit epic.
Yeah, they did, at least to the leader, they gained quite some time, but then the last lap they lost more than a tenth. As we see Kalen Height right next to Campbell there, they got really side by side. Height's a little bit loose, comes up, oh, and there's a wreck out of turn 4. Kalen Height was not clear.
Man.
And this is going to be a green-white checkered finish as another driver sideswipes Height there. And you called it, David. She's had some runs in top. Oh, heavy contact. I think that was Thomas Fisher. Wow, that was crazy. Yeah, yeah, and he wasn't going to gain anything. I mean, maybe if it's a situation where it's a white flag lap and there's not going to be a caution, I guess I kind of understand it. But the fact that the caution was already out, we're going to have another restart. I mean, he wasn't going to gain anything from that.
Yeah.
And all he did was destroyed his car and Kalen Height's car. And yeah, but if we can go back to the initial wreck, I'd like to see if we can get a replay of the initial incident, so we can break that down, because that was just really, really hard racing. You see Kalen Height there, she throws it into 3 and 4, trying to get by, and she almost makes that pass work. But she wasn't clear yet and slid up. I think this is the lap before.
I'll double check
But
for you, but I think also what happens there as well is the fact that she's pushing it so hard that it just doesn't happen at all. She ends up trying to force the situation there, and essentially, I don't think there was anything that could have happened. We'll double check here as we have a look for Caitlin. At which point, yeah, there we go. So she's.
yeah, if we could.
We'll try and bring that back even further, actually.
Yeah, just a little bit further back in turn 3 and 4, because you see how close together they are, and obviously Campbell's prerogative is to put, Katie in a bad spot to defend that position. But you see in the middle of the corner, she actually gets just a little bit loose, but then she starts gaining and she starts pulling ahead. And I think she was maybe she was going to assume that she would be clear out of turn 3 and 4, and she almost is, but she kind of just clears herself and moves up just a hair too much and collects Campbell there and wrecks them both. But it's really, really hard racing. And sometimes as a race car driver, you take that risk in clearing yourself, hoping that you are actually clear. Because a lot of times when your spotter says clear, you actually already have been clear. And I mean, it's a matter of seconds to fractions of seconds. But sometimes that's the difference. And Katie knew she needed to get that pass done as soon as possible if she had any chance of catching Harry Wills. So I appreciate her commitment, but just didn't quite execute that one properly.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to watch there, and unfortunately the curse strikes again. As I said, that's now the 3rd race in a row where Caitlin Height has been in a really strong position at the end and has found herself in the mix with another car here. So now the question has to be, who can stop Harry Wills getting another win?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for these drivers. However, I have seen Mark Redford has been really good on like initial short runs, and this is exactly what we're going to get, a two-lap run. And we'll have to see. He should get a pretty good run in turns three or down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4. But it's all going to come down to as well how he's able to deal with Steven Martinez. And how about Martinez? He's had a really clean race. He's been solid, hitting his marks. Hasn't really had a ton of problems out there. TJ Hanley with a good recovery up into fourth. Justin Delano, we haven't really talked about him at all in fifth place. And at this point, it's come to the point where basically, if you finish, you're going to get a halfway decent um, finishing spot if you're just out there at the end. Travis Kepler's been out there on a wounded race car and for the last second half of this race, and he's going to find himself in 12th right now.
Can we still point out the fact that Lilac Zayre's only done 2 pit stops this entire race with about 15,000 cautions? That's yeah, that is dedication to a strategy right there from Lilac Zayre. Impressive stuff. And to be fair, actually, I would have maybe pitted at this caution just purely because why not? Why not get a fresh set of boots on and see what happens? You've at least got one more green-white checker to go. You might as well put yourself in the best possible position, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as Zier's situation, she's in sixth place right now. If she pitted, she would have dropped to about 11th. So, I mean, if she could gain 5 spots in 2 laps, then yeah, it'd be worth it. But, maybe she thinks she can stay up there and uh, in sixth place or somewhere around it or ahead of 11th anyway. And actually looks like she's in fifth. Oh, we're already green. Sorry about that. I was behind on the replay. Totally my bad there. But Wills gets away with a clean restart, and Hanley's now settled into third. Sorry about that, David.
No, not at all, not at all. It's all good, my man. TJ Handley, though, he's shown how it's done, getting a really good restart there, getting himself up into third position there, as we're going to have white flag this time by as they come across the line here. So this is going to end the race. However, this goes down here, and here we go then. Harry Wills under pressure from Mark Redford, but have a look at Handley getting harassed by Steven Martinez there. Martinez actually bumps the tail end of TJ Handley's machine, and that means that Martinez takes that third position. Have a look at Lilac Zayre and Dean Timms as well here. Well, what a finish to this race. Harry Wills shown how it's done coming out of the final couple of corners here. I don't think Mark Redford's going to have anything for him, Kenny.
No, and Harry Wills will come by and he will sweep the EU and the US races here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Good run for him. Mark Redford in second. Steven Martinez kind of shoves Hanley out of the way and gets third place back. And you talked about Lilac Zayre possibly pitting, and you weren't sure if they would work with her staying out. She ended up sixth place, which is where she restarted, and was actually trying to make some moves there at the end. So great job by her doing a two-stop strategy and making that work and surviving to the end. But here we go. We'll take a look at our finishing order. Harry Wills wins it with Mark Redford in second, Steven Martinez in third, TJ Hanley in fourth, Dean Timms picks up a top 5 in fifth, Lilac Zayre sixth, Justin Delano seventh, Drew Neubauer in eighth. Sean Campbell, he did end up surviving for a ninth place finish. Eric Kulaga runs out the top 10. Travis Kepler in 11th, Rich Matthews in 12th, and 13th was Urexoy, last car in the lead lap. You want to take the rest there, David?
Yep, certainly will then. So Errol Erexoy on 13th position, Thomas Fisher in 14th, Caitlin Height in 15th, Jeff Carollo in 16th, Cass Silman down in 17th, James Howard in 18th, John Cooper in 19th, Matthew Plaisance, who was sent to the moon in 20th position, Casey Metzger in 21st, Braden Mailing in 22nd, Judith Cooper down there in 23rd, and Morgan Costello. Did they even get started, Morgan? I can't remember if they actually took to the grid, but wow, that was a race and a half of attrition there, Kenny. Unbelievable scenes.
Yeah, it was for sure. Great job by Harry to come away with that win, but looks like we have some drivers we can interview here. So we'll bring in, why don't we bring in Steven Martinez first, shall we? Steven
Hey,
Martinez, it's Kenny Kibbe up in the booth. You got a copy?
hey, how's it going?
Good. Great run for you tonight, man. It seemed like you were just pretty much solid. No, nothing really. You were one of the few drivers who seemed to pretty much stay out of trouble. Does that seem like a fair assessment?
A lot of luck. Towards the beginning of the race, yeah, I basically the seas parted and I went right up the middle of that first big melee, and then after that it was just kind of staying out of everybody's way. But yeah, the restarts were killing me because I had such a deep gear, but I was reeling people in longer the run went.
So yeah, as that was kind of coming in what you wanted was to get some long green flag runs. I mean, if that was what you were looking for and you didn't get it, I mean, props to you for still getting a solid finish.
Yeah, well, I didn't want too long of a run. I figured if we got 10 to 15 laps, that'd be decent because the car seemed to kind of come alive at 5 to 10. Then I noticed that everybody else that was staying out or was going in, that basically I was just reeling them in later in the run. So I was hoping for longer ones. But yeah, the restart was what was killing me every single time. I'd lose 2 or 3 spots and then have to come back and get it. So
Now, on that last restart there, you had quite the battle there with TJ Hanley for that final podium spot. Break down that final restart there for me.
well, I figured he was going to get around me because everybody else was, and then the last 3 restarts, I basically kept losing spots. So I figured, you know what, if we go into this restart, everybody has been, I'm coming into turn one faster than everybody, turn three and four faster than everybody, and I kept having to lift and brake. I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna brake. I'm just gonna lift, and then if I can get on his bumper, then fair game, bump and run, and that's exactly what happened. And if I would have lifted and broke, then the person behind me would have passed me just like every other restart. So I already had in my mind that I was sending it no matter what.
Well, your commitment leads to a really good finish tonight. So, who do you have to thank for the run tonight?
All of my teammates. I mean, even though some of the guys like Thomas and Eric and Jeff and um, Morgan were out of the race, they were constantly keeping us fed with information, how the cars were doing, where everybody was at, the condition, that kind of stuff. And then we were just communicating through the whole race.
All right. Well, good run for you tonight, Steven, and we'll see you in the next one.
Sounds great. All right, thanks everybody.
That was Steven Martinez, the third place finisher. And David, do you want to bring a driver up for an interview? Still with us, David?
There we go, TJ. Welcome to the commentary booth, buddy. We'll get a chat with you because obviously you were in that heck of a scrap there with Stephen. What was that like? That last 5 laps there?
Oh man. First and foremost, the open setup was awesome. That's what I used. I just used a standard open setup. That was great. She does not like new tires. She's very like squeaky on the pavement. It was kind of tough for her first 3 laps. But oh man, that was that last 2 laps just got a really good start on the outside with Steven. And I was like, yes, I got a good start. We'll just drive away. On turn 3, I saw him coming. I'm like, no, surely he won't drive it in that hard for third. And he did. He drove it in a little deeper than I expected. He got my bumper, got me tight, got me off the track, and drove by me. And then, of course, I'm sure y'all saw the aftermath where I came back after him and I'm like hitting his rear and whatnot. But I talked to him. He said, "Hey, I can't lift because when I do lift, I get passed." I'm like, oh, "Okay," and I'm here just trying to do better than 13th. So I had a really fun night. Last week was a good track with a very vicious and evil car. And this week, it's a very good track. It's a very good car, and I just enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun tonight.
It really, really did come across there, TJ. We saw your little Easter egg. We saw in chat that you were saying that you had a surprise for us up in the commentary booth. We very much enjoyed your little addition to the livery this week. Do you have anybody that you want to thank for your performance tonight?
Thinking to my boss. I'm currently at my workstation at the sign shop. And this is what I use to run my VR setup. I need to get a new wheel. I'm currently duct taped down my wheel because I got no bolt to keep it tight. Um, Otherwise, man, I love this series. I know we've got some altercations and whatnot, and I know it's not fleshed out yet, but man, this is so much fun. I love that we can actually race each other, and it's not just someone buys an open setup and just runs off. Like you can run the standard stock setup, and maybe you're not good on one part of the run, but you're good on another. And I loved it. I loved the different tactics and whatnot tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure having you along as always, and yeah, we're going to pass our thanks on to your very understanding boss. It sounds like you've got a super sub if ever you need one, TJ, but looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, sir. Hope to see y'all next week as well.
Take it easy. There you go then, Kenny. That was TJ Handley. Who have you got finally for us?
Yeah, we've caught up with the winner tonight, Harry Wills, and Harry, you came away with the win there. That was a great little battle you guys had there up front with you had Harry there, Caitlin Height was in there at one point with Campbell, and you kind of ran away with it.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I've enjoyed tonight's racing at the EU series, and tonight I don't know what it is. I must have just clicked with this car, the track, the setup, the whole combination. I think I timed it right with tyres because I think I said before, but there's a little window where these tyres are absolutely bang on. And I was just in that window as we came into the last few laps there, and I thought, right, this is it. And I know Sean took fresh tyres more recent than what I did, but I was just right in that window, sort of 5-10 laps into a run where she's just perfect. So, yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that. I've got to say, we put together a lot of series, put together a lot of races, and I race in all of them. And I just chuffed to bits. I really enjoyed it.
Now, is Charlotte a track coming in here that you really enjoyed from the get-go, or was this a track that you kind of built a liking for as you practiced for it this week and put more laps down?
When I initially started driving this car around this track earlier on, I was thinking, I don't even think I'm going to be able to complete a lap, let alone 100 laps, and let alone be competitive. So I was, it was just a really, it was a lot of cautions. Obviously, this whole track and car combination is far more difficult than probably what a lot of people have been used to in the past with oval racing, NASCAR racing. There's so much to learn out of this car, and the whole way you set them up, the whole logic and thought process behind it is completely different. You haven't got wedges, you haven't got trap bars, things do different things, and it's just about unlocking that sweet combination of what you do with the setup, shock absorber spring, all that sort of stuff. But we just got it right with it, with the setup, and maybe it suited my style. Some of the drivers, obviously, in the team used the setup and they couldn't particularly get on with it too well. I just clicked with it and clicked with the track. But who knows? It might be someone else's turn next week, where they click with that track and click with their combination of car and setup and everything and go from there. But yeah, really good race tonight. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch base on you real quick about next race, which is going to be at Richmond, completely different from the races that you've done so far in this series. Going to get in touch with my background a little bit, some short track racing at Richmond. How do you feel about that track?
Yeah, I like short track racing. I like the idea that you can actually use your car in a little bit more of an aggressive manner and kind of get away with it. Obviously, if you go rubbing doors around somewhere like here or Daytona or Las Vegas, it's never going to work. But you could probably get away with it a little bit more around a place like that. And hopefully, as long as people know where the boundary is between the rubbings racing and you've killed someone, as long as there's a clear boundary between that that line, I think we're going to have a really good race. And as time goes on, people get more used to this car. As we know, it's an all new car. There's not many setups for it, but provided people put the time in, put the practice in, get used to what they've got, drive in accordance with that, we should have a really, really good race. And hopefully it'll be all right. But yeah, I'm just really chuffed. You know, I put on like I said, I put on a lot of races, and I race in all of them. I never really end up doing all that well, but to come away from 2 wins out of the last 2 races I've took part in, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been fun watching you, Harry. And before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
As always, you guys for putting on the show. David Christie for staying up till 10 to 4 in the morning. Big shout for that. Thank you very much, David. All the drivers in the series, everyone who takes part, all the sponsors that we have on board that support the series. SIM3D, Go for the Gap, Race Anywhere, new sponsor of IMB. Just the whole kit and caboodle. My other admins, Dean Timms, my stewards, Matt Green, everyone else. We work a serious amount of time to put this stuff together, and the reward is always to see some good racing. And we did see some good racing tonight, obviously in between the cautions, but that I'm sure that'll get ironed out the more we go through the season, the more people get used to the car. Hopefully the racing will improve, and that's the aim. But yeah, guys, thank you ever so much. Thank you for letting me come and talk to you, and cheers.
Sounds good, Harry. We'll see you in the next one.
That you shall. Have a good evening, guys. Thank you.
That was Harry Wills, and what do you think, David? You mind if I bring one more into the booth?
Absolutely not. You go for it.
All right. Well, I wanted to talk to Mark Redford here real quick. I feel like Mark Redford deserves an interview. Great run for you tonight, Mark. Second place. Talk about your run throughout the race tonight. What was it like driving these cars and dealing with the traffic and just staying alive?
Yeah, staying alive. Caution field race, so it's a bit frustrating at times. I think I got involved in a net code early on around lap 25 with Dean, and that caused a big wreck. So that used up my fast repair, and then it was a bit mad near the back because some of them are a bit unpredictable, and some of them slammed the brakes on unexpectedly, and I just managed to keep the car relatively clean, but it had a bit of aero damage on the front, so I was just got a bit lucky at the end. Unfortunate for Sean, he got knocked out, didn't he, near the end, but I had a great battle with Sean. That was good fun.
And it looked like, Mark, that you were really good on the initial restarts, and it seemed like maybe you fell off if we had a decently long run, which we didn't really have many of those tonight, but the restart specifically, you looked really on point. Is that what your feeling was?
Yeah. I found I could almost hold it wide open through turn 1 and 2, which gave you a good run on the back straight. But just getting that reaction time, concentrating and trying to get away. I think I was quite lucky because I wasn't really third in line on the inside, which is when you can't see the leader. You tend to lose out when you're in that position.
Well, it was great to see you in the top 3 tonight. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Harry for helping me out with the setup in between the races tonight. I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast because you do a great job, and I'd like to give a shout out to my sons Luke and Will, who's going to be racing in real life this weekend. We're off to Cadwell Park and he's racing in the Honda Civic Cup.
That's awesome. Hopefully he does well. But we'll
thanks.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one, Mark. It was nice talking to you.
Thanks, Kenny.
That was Mark Redford, and looks like, David, you brought up the points. Are they now updated?
They certainly are. So Harry has done us the privilege of getting them all updated into the Google spreadsheet. So Lilac Zier there on the top of the championship, 107 points from Harry Wills in second place. Mark Redford will be very happy to take third place so far. But, I mean, Kenny, so many drivers within, 14 points? That's unbelievable for race 3 in a championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been a struggle for these drivers to really nail down the consistency. Obviously, we had Daytona, which was a wild card race, but a lot of drivers have had really good runs going and then just haven't really panned out. And, then you've had drivers like Justin Delano, who tonight didn't really look like he was going to have that grit of a finish, but ends up surviving and coming away with 7th, and now he finds himself fighting for a top 5 in points, which is, you know, really good. So yeah, I think, you know, these drivers just, they're fighting this car, they're fighting the consistency, and now we're going to head to Richmond next time, which is a completely different animal. So you may see some different drivers up towards the front, and but yeah, I'm excited for the next one, and but that'll be about it for us here on the Absolute Sim Racing channel. And I'd like to thank our sponsors real quick, SIM3D, and of course, thank you to Absolute Sim Racing Network for allowing me to come on board and help broadcast these races. The WSL NASCAR Series US League here, and yeah, we'll be back at Richmond for the next one. It will be a night race. Tune into that one. Until then, thanks again, David Christie, for being the director and helping me doing commentary tonight. I'm your host, Kenny Kibbe, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.